Ok, aquí estamos. Entonces, buenas tardes a todas las personas que incluso nos están siguiendo en la página Facebook del ESARQ. Estamos en la tercera semana de clase aquí en el Diplomado en Diseño de la Vivienda Colectiva Contemporánea, ¿no? Y hoy tenemos el placer de poder escuchar el arquitecto italiano Simone Sfriso, al cual, digamos, le doy mi más profundo agradecimiento para aceptar, digamos, de impartir esta conferencia. Entonces, os voy a leer muy rápidamente, digamos, unos datos, ¿no?, del currículum del arquitecto Sfriso. El arquitecto Sfriso es máster en arquitectura por la Universidad de l'UA de Venecia. Ha sido profesor adjunto en la Universidad de Padova y visiting professor en la Universidad de Yaoundé en Camerún, en la Universidad de Loja en Ecuador. Desde el 2018 es miembro del Cluster of Sustainable Cities de la Portsmouth School of Architecture y desde el 2020 es un visiting professor siempre de la misma Universidad de Portsmouth. Ha sido embajador italiano de diseño en el 2019, nombrados por el ministro de los Exteriores, ¿no? Y es fundador, digamos, y director principal de la oficina TAMassociati, que es una oficina italiana de arquitectos, ingenieros e investigadores, ¿no?, que, digamos, busca soluciones creativas, ¿no?, para responder a las necesidades contemporáneas, tanto sociales como de los cambios climáticos. Por lo tanto, Simone, te dejo la palabra. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Eres parte de este abanico, ¿no?, de arquitectos e investigadores internacionales que hemos invitado. Tuvimos la primera conferencia con tu colega, ¿no?, con la arquitecta Stefania Ros, que se impartió en italiano. La semana pasada escuchamos una conferencia en brasileño, en portugués, y hoy tendremos el placer de escucharte. Te pedimos que impartieras la conferencia en inglés. Por lo tanto, muchísimas gracias y aquí estamos para escucharte, para aprender.
Okay. Grazie. Thank you very much. Thank you for your really kind invitation. I apologize, no hablo español, so I will give this lecture in English, but I've translated some of the slides in Spanish, so maybe it would be easier for you to follow me in the lecture. I will show you some of our recent works. Most of them have been developed in Global South, in the African continent. And I will close with a small project, a church project in Italy, a wooden build project. Well, I can share my my desktop. Okay, can you see my desktop?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very well. So, well, again, thank you for your kind invitation. I am one of the founding partners of TAMassociati. TAMassociati is a firm based in Venice, in Italy, in the late 90s. And in the last 20 years, we have worked mainly in the Global South, in African continent, but we have also worked in Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq, and we have also done some works in some projects in Ecuador and in Nicaragua as well. And so we have worked mainly on what are called the global boundaries, las fronteras globales. But first of all, I would like to talk about what it means for us to the word boundary or frontera. I've tried to translate it in Spanish. I hope it is a correct Spanish. But what is a boundary? This is a quote of Massimo Arcangeli, who is an intellectual and glottologist, an Italian glottologist. He says that la frontera se divide, pero también es etimológicamente un lugar de interscambio. Se confío con alguien, ese alguien me une. Podré verlo y él podrá verme, y el que importa es si estamos sobre el mismo nivel. No estamos confinados, de lo contrario sería un confinamiento, sino vecinos. What it means for us? It means that in our point of view, the boundaries are not seems the global boundaries not seems as a place of separation, place of segregation, but we like to consider them as place for encounters. When I talk about boundaries, I talk about the physical boundaries, but mainly about the social boundaries and also the war-torn boundaries. We have worked in war-torn areas such as Syria, Sierra Leone, Iraq, and the place where all the rights are denied to the communities, to the people. And so what is important is to try with our work to build bridges, to bring rights, to bring services, to bring an attempt of building the quality of life, same quality of life that we have normally used to achieve in our part of the world, in the north part of the world, in Europe as well, and to guarantee through our social engagement, dialogue, service, and rights to communities, to the places in which we are involved in our work. We have worked mainly for NGOs, for pro bono associations, and so we have started this, I can say, back and forth journey from the north to the south, and it has meant for us a sort of, how can I say, relearning how to be architects, but also relearning how to be citizens, how to be involved with the community. As to do this, we always try to set up participatory processes. We try to dialogue with the communities. That means that we always we search for the correct questions, and you can only try to raise the correct questions when you dialogue with the people, when you listen to the places, and because also Alejandro Aravena, artistic director of the Biennale di Venezia 2016, says there is nothing worse than a wonderful answer to the incorrect question. So dialogue, listening to the places and dialoguing with the communities means for us to make arose the correct question, in which we have to give answers with our instruments, the instruments of architecture, the instruments of a project. I'm going to talk about 3 projects that have been realized with 3 different building solutions. We have worked with, we like to experiment different kind of architectural solutions, different kind of building solutions. So we have worked with dry construction systems. We have worked with Pisé, with la tierra, and also with Madeira. And so I will try to communicate with you. So how we can use building systems in order to build a sustainable development everywhere and in every condition. About the obras in seco, dry construction system. So why are we talking about obras in seco, dry construction systems? Because they are really, how can I say, cost effective, really fast, and we can try to achieve fast answers to big questions, especially in emerging countries, in big urban, complicated urban developments, such as African cities. But I can say we can definitely find out the same questions, the same problems also in other parts of the global south, such as Latin America as well, also India. I have also worked for a while in India. So it means to, how can I say, try to keep together timetables, the quality, and cost-effective, using the possibilities that the innovation that prefab systems can give you in order to give an answer to big questions. So I've talked about prefabricación, integración total, inexpensiveness, la construcción de un edificio resistente, la robusteza sísmica as well. So it means that we can really try to give with using the industrial production and the repetitivity of industrial components, effectiveness in our answers to the question. This is an experimental research. It is the project for the reconstruction of a district in Kabun. Kabun is a district in Damascus, the capital of Syria. As probably you know, Syria has been shattered in the last 6 years by a civil war, and big parts of the country have been destroyed, and then also the capital Damascus has been a war-torn area, a war theater. Kabun, this district, has been hardly hit by the war, by the bombs. So we have had to deal with huge problems of displacements, huge problems of refugees, persons that were needing to go back in their city, in their neighborhood, as fast as possible. So the attempt was to guarantee, how can I say, the same quality of life, the same feeling of genius loci in a place that has been definitely completely destroyed. So this is why we have entitled this project Igual però differente. It means that we have tried to learn from the genius loci. We have tried to start from understanding deeply how people were used to live. It was a deep research about the typical Arab house, the courtyard house, how to repurpose that also in huge residential intervention such as this, where we were asked to design an entire district. So we have proposed a project based on the possible variations, based on a basic model and on a standardization of solutions with the objective to develop solutions and strategies capable in transforming a very simple construction simple system in architecture. So this the title igual pero differente, in our point of view, represents a declaration and that explicitates an intention to respect the place, but to give an effective answer to the need of reconstructing a place after a war, after a conflict. So I can go maybe very fast. We have articulated the project in 4 steps. The first step is the unit, so il módulo básico de vivienda realizzato con sistemas de paneles prefabricados, the basic module, the cluster, so the aggregation of different kind of modules of housings, the neighborhood, so the aggregation of a certain number of clusters. And finally, the district. The district is made of 4 neighbors for a total of a community of 2,000 inhabitants. So we have started with a very, very simple and basic building scheme. We have started with this very simple model and with this constructing system made of prefab walls, dry constructing walls made of chimps, and 10 centimeters or centimeters of insulating system. We have standardized the thickness of the walls in order to give very good answers in terms of sustainability, in terms of solar radiation, in terms of insulation. You have to consider that Syria is a place where in summer you can have even also 35, 40, more than 40 degrees, but in winter sometimes the temperature goes low to 0 degrees. So you have a very wide range of temperatures from summer to winter. So you have to be very careful about the questions of the quality of building, about the quality of insulation. And so as you can see, we have started with this basic model, a more 18 square meters model, and from that we have tried to assemble and combine different kind of viviendas, different kind of houses. Type A, 58 square meters, type B, 80 square meters, and type C, 120 square meters. So 2, 4 more plus 1 people, and a bigger house, 124 plus 2 people. So every cluster hosts 70 inhabitants. That means that we have a medium density of 280 inhabitants in every hectare. The attempt was to have a simple system, but how the challenge was to build complexity, to build a variety with a, I can say, very banal system, a modular system. So some instruments of can say the juxtaposition of different houses were made in order to build richness and variety inside the neighborhood. We didn't want to build a boring place, a place where you have a repetition of the same kind of house everywhere, but we tried to learn from the typical Arab kasbahs, and we have tried to repropose a contemporary version of the Arab city, the Arab kasbah. So from the unit to the cluster, from the cluster to the neighborhood, and from the neighborhood to the district. I'm showing some schematic drawings. If you like, maybe in the next days I can send you some materials, some PDF files if are requested. If you want, I can send you some materials. And so I can send. So now I'm showing you some variations, some possibilities of this aggregating system. Every house has its own patio. The patio is very important for the Arab culture because it guarees the privacy for the family, the privacy for the women. So it means that we have worked on different kind of levels of open air spaces. The intimacy and the privacy of the patio, the semi-public courtyard where 5, 6, 7 units are facing, and in the middle of the cluster square, the more public space, a space for the market, for markets, for a space for social gathering, and so on. So different solution. This is a project for a feasibility project for a pediatric clinic. So even for a public building, we have worked on the same principles. The dimension of the courtyard, the dimension of the patio, and the capability of the system to be replicable in different solutions, but also for different uses, for houses, but also for public building as well. This is another shot of the project. This is another variation. As you can see, small windows in the walls facing the external walls, and the big windows in the private internal patios, in order to guarantee privacy and intimacy in the houses. And this is an overlook of the final composition of the wall district of Kabun. And this is a final exhibition that we have set up for the commission. I have worked with a group of 20 students of this project, and actually we are in the feasibility project phase of the district. And yes, as I said, I can send you some materials if are required. Another master plan, we are changing social, physical, and also climate context. This is a social housing master plan in Yaoundé. Yaoundé is the capital of Cameroon. Cameroon is in the equatorial area of African continent. It is an emerging country. Economy is growing faster, and this means that there is a middle income class growing, but there is also a huge request of social housing for all the people that are moving from the small settlements, from the villages to the city. And again, the questions are really similar than the questions that I have talked about in the previous project. The demand, in this case, we have worked for an Italian building company and for the Ministry of Social Housing of Cameroon. We were asked to design a master plan for 10,000 housing units, and so a new town, una ville nouvelle, for 45,000 inhabitants to be built with prefab systems. So the first thing is, the first step that of the realization of the industrial base for the realization of the prefab systems, again, dry constructing systems, capable to build in 5 years 10,000 units. Actually, we are working on the detailed design of the first prototype neighborhood for 1,000 housing units. Here we are. Cameroon is there in Africa, just in the very middle. We are in the boundary between the sub-Saharan area and the green equator African area. The place, the plot assigned for this project is 20 kilometers far from Yaoundé. It is in Bangtomo, as you can see in the slide. The idea of a ministry is to build a series of the satellite, small satellite cities connected with a strong public transport system. So the idea is not to just to try to not build anymore in the city, but to build small places connected with agriculture, connected with the environment, connected with the nature. So the objectives are all connected one with each other. So this idea of creating economic opportunities while connecting public and private actors to improve a diverse and vibrant community, integrated with existing nature, as I said, and creating a safe, secure, and prosperous place for life. Again, we have worked on 3 scales: the scale of a neighborhood, 1,000 units, with a series of public services. That is very important. So the primary schools, the libraries, the secondary schools, churches and mosques, and sport fields, and public parks. At the scale of a district, district parks, sport complex, banks, bureaus, offices, cultural centers, and so on. And at the scale of the whole community, the public spaces, the public buildings for culture, such as cinemas, theaters, secondary schools as well, city libraries, and so on. So we have worked on the aggregation of building units in order to build courtyard clusters and to bring together a sequence of cluster units in order to build the neighbors. following the characteristic of the terrain. The plot is we have worked in a hilly place, so we have followed the line of the terrain, follow the line of the landscape. We have divided the wall complex in two semi neighborhoods, two petite villes, two small cities. One has been developed, the one on your left, developed around a hill, and the second one on the left developed around the productive area that will be dismantled after all the housing system will be realized and will be replaced with a public park area. So as you can see, different kind of services placed in the strategic visual areas of the two complexes. So the main question in this case was how to combine quality, the question of time in construction, and the cost effectiveness and the dignity of the inhabitants. This is a photograph of a typical housing neighborhood built by big Chinese companies in Africa, and it is, as you can see, a sort of they have definitely took typical towers, housing towers, Chinese towers of peripheries of Shenzhen or Beijing, and it seems that they have been parachuted in Africa with any kind of relations with the place, with a request of the people, with the idea of housing that the Cameroon people have, and what they expect from a house, and what they expect from a neighborhood, what they expect in terms of yes, their own house, but of quality of the public spaces as well. And so we have worked with instruments of architectural composition. We have started with a very banal, simple structural grid. We have articulated with an empty space in the middle. This means that we always try to put together the public space and the private space of the house. And so again, this idea of a courtyard, this idea of building around an empty space, around a semi-public or a semi-public place. The articulation of the functional models, light systems for the facade, cost-effective system, but also the morphologic adaptation to the landscape, and also an adaptation of a functional adaptation. That means that you can start from a basic model and then you can add other models when and if and when needed as well. In many projects, we have experimented this idea to build around an internal space. These two pictures are the upper photograph is a housing project in Sudan, and the second photograph is of a pediatric clinic in Darfur. In the very middle, there is this huge tree, a sort of cosmic tree, sort of center, symbolic center, and it seems to us that we have built all around this symbolic center represented by the tree. And building houses is more like building public spaces, building spaces for gathering and building and creating systems for relations of people. And we try to achieve this with very light and cost-effective architectonical solutions, such as porches, light porches built of metallic grids and bamboo shading system, brise-soleils, in order to realize with very simple and fast systems, spaces for markets, spaces for communities. And it also means about you can just start from a basic system, and you can implement it, adapt it in a mid or in a long time as well. Well, this is an abacus. I'm not showing you the houses here today, but I'm showing you the public buildings, because what is important for me to say here is that with the same constructing system I have talked about in the previous project, you can definitely achieve a variety in terms of shapes, but also a variety in terms of functions, and also using very cost-effective and simple systems, and also working with colors, also working with filtering spaces that gives you, I can say, a sort of insulation from the external spaces, the streets, the public streets, and the internal spaces as well. I'm going to show them very fastly. This is a primary school, a pediatric clinic, sporting fields, sporting functional systems, the gardening and the parks, the social, cultural spaces, and also the sacred spaces, such as churches, Catholic or Anglican churches, or Muslim mosques. And as you can see, different shapes in respect of different faiths, but both built with the same basic building, a prefab building system as well, or a public works, a public office administration building as well, or transport stations, commercial centers as well. Well, I'm going fast here because otherwise I'm talking too long. Ladrillo, or earth, I can say. I'm going to show you fastly two projects. This is a project built in Uganda. Our commitment in this case was a filmmaker, Mira Nair. Mira Nair is a very well-known Indian filmmaker. She has founded more than 10 years ago a school for younger filmmakers in Kampala, in Uganda. Kampala is the capital of Uganda. And the mantra of Mira Nair is, if we don't tell our own stories, nobody will. This means that in an emerging country, such as Uganda, economy is important, but culture, to preserve the culture of a place, to improve the culture of the place, is also as important as the improvement of economic conditions of the people. The first act, this is a very small school with public open air spaces in this didactic garden. The first act was to build a very small factory for the production of the bricks. And we have used the earth of the hill, the earth of the plot. We have transformed the earth of a plot. We have realized the bricks, and with the bricks we have realized everything: the walls, the ceilings, the floors, the open air paths, and so on. So it is, I can say, not a kilometer zero building, but it's more like a meter zero building, because the earth of the place has been transformed in the building system that we have used for the construction. It is a work in progress. We have already realized the external spaces, this open air classrooms. Well, I have also a short video. I don't know if you can hear the audio. We can try. Can okay. Well, I can go on. About Earth, we have experimented Earth for as a building material in an experimental healthcare project that we have already realized again in Uganda. It is a center for excellence for pediatric surgery that we have designed in collaboration with Renzo Piano Building Workshop, and it has been all the walls have been realized in Pisé. I don't know how to say Pisé in Spanish, but anyway, it is an antique African building technique. Means it has been involving the construction with, I hope it is correct, la tierra apisonada. It says Uganda. Uganda is in the very middle of the African continent, and it is a huge complex, 100 beds hospital. But it, as for the request of the NGO Emergency, we have worked with our commitment. The first question was that it had to be, again, really cost effective, but at the same time we had to offer same I can say the same quality of healthcare in this hospital, same quality that we are normally used to achieve in our country, in Italy, but also in Europe as well. So it means that it is also say a political act, because it follows the idea that it does not, we don't have to have a serious healthcare in the north of the world and a B serious healthcare in the south of the world. And so again, we have worked with the earth, and the earth of the place, the excavation for the foundation has been the first place where we have found the materials to be transformed in order to build the hospital. Well, I go a bit fast, otherwise I will talk too long. But anyway, I can again I can send you these slides if you are maybe interested. If you have time in the following days to watch them. Il Pisé is normally used for very small and simple buildings in Uganda, and this was the first time that was used for a double floor building for a big hospital building. But as you can see, il Pisé, the construction with earth, with rammed earth, is normally used in Africa, in Asia, and in many parts of Latin and Central America as well. About the sustainability, building with earth gives very good answers in terms of il rendimento termico della parete, in terms of the possibilities to build with cost effectiveness, and so on. And well, I've already told about beneficios térmicos, the thermical capacity of massive buildings, of huge walls, to give very, very good answers in terms of thermic transmittance and so on. We have also worked with renewable energy. All the roofs have been covered with photovoltaic panels. We have a huge photovoltaic system that gives us a bit less than 300 kilowatts. That means that all the electricity needed for the running systems, for MEP systems of this building, are guaranteed by this photovoltaic, this huge photovoltaic field. So the phases of the building, l'escavazione, la riutilización de la tierra, la selección de las tierras, encofrado, a basic schematic section of encofrado, la fundición de la tierra. It is just about, it's the same constructing system of reinforced concrete, but here we don't have concrete, we only have earth. Secado, the time of it means that we need about 2 weeks to wait before the wall is ready to be built over with other layers of rammed earth. I have a video. Unfortunately, you cannot hear the audio, but I'm going to show you just a little part of the video, maybe talking on, because just maybe I can go a bit faster, because what I want to show you is, yeah, it's here. As you can see, we have worked with local workers, with local building companies. And what was important for us was not only to bring architecture, to bring a design, but also to set up training courses for the local communities. This means that we have tried to bring knowledge and to bring knowledge in order to live something that could have been, that could be used again in future building sites that will be set up in this part of our country. As you can see, the constructing system, building design is really simple. Vertical walls in rammed earth, horizontal ceilings in light steel systems, and dry construction systems also for the roofs as well. Well, I go a bit faster. This is a rendering of the hospital and some photographs of the building site. At the moment, it is finished already, and it is already open. Well, I finish with a project realized in wood. We have also experimented the wood here in Italy in this back and forth journey. We have, in a way, this is a project important for us because in this project we have found something about what we have learned in working in the global south, working in Africa, and how this lesson for us has been important to relearn how to be architects also in Italy, also in our part of the world, in terms of bringing simplicity, bringing cost effectiveness, and bringing quality without using very expensive or sophisticated or complicated building systems or complicated forms in architecture. In this case, we have worked with cross-laminated wood, big panels, wooden panels, realized with pine wood. That is the more economic wood that you can find in Italy. And it was a reconstruction of an existing church, a church built in the peripheries of Viareggio. It was a prefab church, and it was really in a situation, it was already in the end of life, and so we had to demolish the existing structure and rebuild it. It was an architectural composition, and so we won the composition, and then we have designed the detailed design project, and we have followed the building site. Again, as you can see, the central, we have tried to work starting from an empty space, the central space represented by the courtyard that connects the sacred space of the church, and spaces of for didactic activities, for local associations, the house for priests as well, and so everything turns around this center represented by the patio. When you work with wood, you have to be with a prefab system. You have to be really precise during the design phase, and because all the panels are realized before, and then you bring the panels and you build them just like a sort of Lego system as well. Well, I can go fastly here anyway. And so in this case, the design phase is really, really complicated. But okay, this is how we have tried to transmit this idea of simplicity to the local community. It was an idea of, yes, demolishing of existing church, but in a way it was a sort of refurbishment of the form they were used to recognize as their own church. The renderings of the competition, some photographs of the building site, foundation, the foundation system, the assemblation of prefab, huge prefab wooden panels, as you can see, and all the structure is built in wood. So the wood has been used for the vertical walls, but also for the roofs, for the sheds, the ceilings as well. So gyps for the finishing of the sheds of the wall area, and some photographs of the sacred space with I can say this very soft light coming from the north. This is an industrial light in a way, in the industrial system, as the shading system of huge industrial buildings. So we have used this very simple system. We have redesigned it, and we have used it for the church as well. Some photographs of the days of the inauguration of the building. The portico, the two porticos. This is the main portico with main entrance to the church, and the portico that brings you to the social center behind the church. This is the entrance to the social cultural center behind the church. Some visualizations of some photographs of a sacred space of the church. As you can see, this we have tried to work on this idea of democratic light. So we didn't want an idea of a dramaturgic light coming from some specific spaces, but you can find the same light in all the parts of this huge 25 by 25 room. This is the baptistry space, and some pics of the ferial chapel. The patio, and important for us, the tree, an olive tree that will be planted in the symbolic center of the complex, and the day of the inauguration. So some conclusions, very short conclusions. I will read the conclusions in my terrible Spanish. Are two quotes, in Spanish you say citas, I think, some citas of two master architects of the 20th century. Giancarlo De Carlo is a great Italian architect. I will suggest you to maybe find out some projects of De Carlo. We consider them one of our masters. Especially when Giancarlo De Carlo says that el esfuerzo por organizar y dar forma al espacio físico es una necesidad urgente y una pasión humana. But at the same time, Oscar Niemeyer says that l'architettura es un pretexto, el ser humano es importante. Architecture is just a pretext. Important is a human being. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Simone, for your lecture. I think TAMassociati reads the environment, the identity to find the genius loci of the projects. I think it's very interesting in your housing project, the in-between space, the little small plazas or the patios, that remembers me the Charles Correa or Balkrishna Doshi housing project, in India. So I have for you a question about the human scale. How much is important the scale control, for obtaining an active and interactive space for TAMassociati?
Well, probably we have also already talked about this in a private conversation. Instead of building high, we prefer to build horizontal. And so our masters in this case has been some great master architects of tropical modernism, as you said, Charles Correa, Balkrishna Doshi, but also the horizontal social housing project of Adalberto Libera in Rome. Yeah, the Charles Correa Lima housing competition as well. That means is that, as you said, but also Luis Barragan, I consider one of the great master architects of the 20th century. And yes, this a patio. The patio of a house is a space that you can measure with your body. And it is your own space. And so you have tried to experiment in different shapes and different forms and different places, this idea of starting from basic models and around an empty space, around an empty private space, around this place of a private house, and 2, 3, 4, 5 private houses facing on a on the mid scale, on a semi-public space, and 5, 6, 10 clusters facing to a bigger public space. So that means that you have a gradient from the privacy to the semi-privacy to the public space. This means that you can preserve the intimacy of a house, but at the same time you can have you can gather with the neighbors. You can have activities, also commercial activities. This is very important in India, where we have worked, but also in African continent, where very small economic activities, market activities, changing, the daily changing, very spontaneous. Also artisan activities are the streets often are working spaces, are commercial spaces, informal commercial spaces. So we have tried to bring all this together, but always starting with from the intimacy of the house. What is really interesting for us is that the same basic typologies, you can find the same basic typologies of patio houses in India, in the Middle East, the Arab house, but also in Latin America, built in the same historic moments. This means it seems that by people, by populations or cultures, but probably didn't have any kind of exchanges. I'm talking about housing projects realized 2,000 years ago. So this is really interesting. So how the basic typology of a patio is you can find it in different places, in different culture, but always giving the same answers in terms of the request of quality, the request of privacy, the basic requests of a human being.
La domus romana, no?
Yes, of course.
So, have you any question for the architect? Nobody?
I have one.
Sí, Jaime, por favor.
Yeah. So, congrats for all your work. It's amazing, and it is incredible how you have experience with these modules to create a kind of a small city. But my question is directed to have you encountered any barriers or any social opposition against the materials you've chosen to build your projects? Like, for example, the drywall that you said you used in Africa, I think it was.
Yes. Well, you know, it is a complicated question, you know, because from one side we were working with our commitment. Our client was a very big construction company, and he had a contract for building a huge number of houses in a very short time. So the need to work with a prefab system was the only way to guarantee the time that was assigned for the contract, but also to give very fastly to give social houses for the people, because there is a huge request of housing. And so you have to be really effective in terms of giving answers in terms of time. At the same time, we have tried to set up public debates, participatory process. We have tried to work directly with the local communities in order to set up a dialogue, in order to understand from them which were the requests coming from families, coming from the people, but also coming from the communities. This is why I have showed you the photograph of a project realized by a Chinese company that has been definitely parachuted in that place with any kind of relationship with the local culture. It is very difficult, you know, when you work with participatory process. It is really delicate. You have to be ready also to manage the conflict. But it is correct that there has to be also conflict, because otherwise, if you go there and you say, okay, now I'm going to explain you what I want to do, and I'm going to do it with all my knowledge of an architect, of a professional, it is a sort of manipulation. So it is a question of spending time and listening, and only then go back home in your own office and try to give an answer with our instruments, the instruments of composition, of architecture.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question? No? So, Simone, thank you very much for your lecture. It was a pleasure for me.
Yes, it was a pleasure for. It was really a pleasure for me. I apologize that I'm sorry that we have done this in in a remote, but unfortunately, due to COVID and healthcare problems, it is really difficult to travel at the moment. But I hope maybe next year, probably, I hope the situation will be far better than now, and I would really love to come to Mexico to talk directly with you and to meet you.
Okay. So see you soon, Simone.
Yes, I hope so.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.